here comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Shh, look out for the devil. Look out for the devil. Look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I. You're so afraid of old man Satan. Now, why don't you stop your hesitating? You're gonna be a long time dead, so the devil with the devil, says I. You're always giving me the dickens, telling me that life's no easy pickings. But just as long as I have fun, why, the devil with the devil, says I. You can have your social teas and bingo for your fun, but the things I like to do, you stop me one by one. Now even if you make me stronger, that ain't gonna make me live no longer. So even if I go to shh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Look out for the devil, look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Ladies and gentlemen, where is Christy? Some of you might say, where is Christy? She's behind the scene today because we are actually conducting this show in an unusual way in between my Italian show and a show that is coming up with Michael Jaco, which will also be probably broadcast on some of my channels. For those who don't know Michael Jaco, he's a former CIA operative and Navy SEAL who I conduct shows with on a regular basis nowadays. Christy, of course, has to take care of the kitchen and everything else, working all the background functions, let's say, while we are trying to do 3 shows in a row, which is not easy for us. So please forgive me if Christy is not around today. She is around, but she's around behind the scenes, behind the camera rather than in front of the camera. In the meantime, let's thank our sponsors that courteously have permitted the show today, aside from those who have purchased this book, which is currently a bestseller, The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster, Exposing Jeffrey Epstein and the Most Powerful Jewish Sect in the World. This book is the only book that touches on, let's say, the religious, anthropological, and historic background behind Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody's talking about also the release of these new photos and new material that is coming up. Within a week, we should have the final disclosure, at least, of a probably very redacted bunch of documents and more photos that might be compromises to some extent. Let's see what happens. We will be discussing this and much more, but let me thank Mr. Yorinmaru Uzumaki. I suppose is a Mr. Yorinmaru Uzumaki. Thank you. Thank you to Margorzata Minta, and thank you to Daniel Estes. If you want to join our sponsors, you can become a sponsor of this show, either anonymously or publicly, like these people have done, through GoFundMe and Cash App. Welcome, everybody. I see you are a bit slow today in tuning in because, like I said, we have to advance of, we had to prioritize the fact that we have another show after this one, but at the same time, we want to offer you the best show possible today. And it's going to be a different show for what, of course, I'm going to be doing with Michael Jacob, because with Michael Jacob, we're going to be focusing on all of what went on in 2025. So if you want, I might be able to broadcast it on Facebook and maybe YouTube, or on X and YouTube, let's see. But at the same time, you can also go directly on Michael Jacob's channel if you can find the show broadcast on this on my channels that I'm using now. Currently, we are broadcasting on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, Rumble, BitChute, and of course later on band.video. Been another great success last week also on band.video. I'm glad that people are appreciating this show, the Leo Zagami show, more and more. And at this point, let's talk about what is going on, because the title, of course, might be a little bit confusing for some people. Trump, Epstein, the end of democracy and the rise of technocracy. Now, this week, something went on in the Trumpian world that has, in a way, created waves. I'm talking about the executive order that Trump wants to give at a federal level in regards to the AI. But today we're going to also be talking about the Dark Enlightenment, which sees also as main protagonist Steve Bannon, which has been found with some set of creepy photos, especially the one with this woman on that was on the desk, this lounging woman on the floor. I mean, it's incredible stuff. And we want to also try to understand why, for example, Alex, out of all people, is trying to defend the impossible here. Because to call the publications of these photos a hoax, well, they are still being published out of context, maybe. That is reasonable, but they're definitely not a hoax. So that is something that also we will be discussing. The explosive set of photos, though, are pretty revealing. We see photos, of course, of Trump with Epstein, but that's not a novelty. But we also see photos with Woody Allen. I've been talking about the relation between Woody Allen and Jeffrey Epstein in my new book. Woody Allen, a total pervert and a Sabbatean Frankist, that's for sure. Now, we have photos like this one with Trump and a series of girls. We don't know now. I mean, all these photos come from Epstein's archives. We might imagine they are victims, and so maybe their photos have been, their image has been covered for that reason. We don't know that yet. We have photos, of course, with Bill Clinton, even autograph photos of Bill Clinton with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and in this case, singer Jimmy Buffett. Then we have this photo, a technocrat like Bill Gates and the now former Prince Andrew, who allegedly raped Virginia Giuffre. This is, of course, a lot of material that at the moment, including this photo, is being debated. Now, the important thing here is to understand why I call Trump, Epstein, the end of democracy and the rise of technocracy. Because, you see, we have here the visible end of democracy when the technocrats are taking more and more power. During the election campaign, the presidential campaign, it was the populist vote that was supporting Trump, but it was also the money of these technocrats that was supporting Trump. And now it seems like Trump has only ears for these people rather than for the people who voted him. That's why a lot of promises made have not been kept. That's why we see now a split between the MAGA movement and what is now gradually been defined as the America First movement, like Major Taylor Greene has defined it. But let's talk about this executive order, which is very important because we are talking about an executive order that regards the AI with an approach at a federal level, which goes against really the classical political view of the Republicans. The Republicans are usually against any federal interference. In this case, though, we have those who support this regulation as positive, the pro-innovation lobby, who say the primary argument made by the Trump administration in this case and the tech industry proponents is that a patchwork of 50 different state regulations will stifle innovation and make US companies less competitive in a global race, for example, against China. And it will be more easy to attract investment at a national level, at a federal level, let's say, rather than for a single state. But you see, we are really jeopardizing the decision of every single state, decisions that might be negative, but might be also positive. So we need to discuss this. At the moment, for those who don't really know what I'm talking about, let me show you what has been discussed and approved with this new executive order.
Signed an executive order to stop excessive state regulation of artificial intelligence. It comes amid a major partnership between one of the biggest AI companies and a major media entity. CBS's Jared Hill has the latest.
It's the AI, artificial intelligence.
From the White House, President Trump putting new guardrails on the AI race, signing an executive order intended to block states from crafting their own AI regulations, arguing a patchwork set of rules could hamstring the U.S. in the tech battle against China.
China has a central source of approval. I don't think they have any approval. They just go and build. But people want to be in the United States, and they want to do it here, and we have the big investment coming. But if they had to get 50 different approvals from 50 different states, you could forget it, because it's not possible to do.
The order creates a task force to go after states for laws the White House says contradict its minimally burdensome national policy. David Sachs, a venture capitalist who leads the president's policies on crypto and AI, says they won't challenge every state law.
So David Sachs, who is the AI expert in the Oval Office there, is actually stating that they're not always going to challenge every local state law, because they know that that might be very difficult. There is already at a local level in red states laws to minimize, for example, the danger for minors or other form of regulation towards the AI that creates, as we know, the possibility of fake videos and so on. Now, we see more and more the emergence of this technocracy. And I repeat, this technocracy are also those people behind Trump, unfortunately, who are now taking over the White House after having invested so much in the candidate Trump, who was, though, promising also a lot of things to us, like revealing, for example, the entirety of the Epstein files, or what was connected to Jeffrey Epstein, or, for example, the promise that was made in regards to inflation, or the possibility of affording things. Now, affordability seems to suddenly be a hoax, but during the campaign, it was no hoax. Now, somebody is asking me questions here from the chat, questions that can be answered simply by reading my books, because, as you know, I've been very transparent always about my past in Freemasonry, in the Illuminati, and other secret societies. So I will leave those answers to my books, from Confessions of an Illuminati Volume 1 to Confessions of an Illuminati Volume 12. The whole Confession series will answer all your questions. And now we have also a new book, though, the book, of course, on Jeffrey Epstein. And at the moment, guys, what is happening also with this obstruction that will be forced to come to an end in a week or so, when there is going to be in place what has been decided even at an executive level by Trump himself. So there can't be any more obstruction towards the publication of these files. But the guy who is the head of the oversight committee could be also interesting to hear what he says. He's the former mayor of Long Beach. I remember once I was in this restaurant in Long Beach in 2014. He was campaigning there, and I had the chance to for a brief encounter with him. Now he is in charge of this oversight committee, these Democrats who are very eager to reveal everything about the Epstein files.
I wonder if we can talk about the latest document production that y'all just made. Can you talk about the context that we don't have around these images at this point, because it's just photos, although it comes from emails and the computer?
Sure. Let me just let me begin by saying that obviously, oversight Democrats have been committed to transparency, and any time that we receive information from whether we've sent a subpoena or whether we have fought to get that information, we're going to put it out to the public, and that's, I think, the most important thing. Obviously, just last night we received about 95,000 photographs from the Epstein estate. I want to be clear, our committee, Oversight Democrats, have gone through maybe about 25,000 of them so far. So there's an enormous amount of photos that we have not gone through. Okay. It will take days and weeks to ensure that we go through those photos and that a redaction is done in the appropriate way. Let me just also say that clearly, we have put out, I think, maybe 15 to 20 of those photos this morning. Democrats have. We will continue to put out more photos in the days and weeks ahead. But I just caution folks that the redaction process and ensuring that we are protecting the survivors and the women who were abused by Epstein are protected.
What else do you anticipate to get in this document production? What else do you expect you'll see when more of these come out?
I will say that there's obviously 95,000 photos. There are many, many photos of women and of some of Epstein's properties, which is a significant portion of these photos. These photos were basically in the possession of the Epstein estate, and so that includes pictures that maybe were sent to Epstein. Perhaps he took himself. We know there's some that he took himself, that others took, but they were in his possession. And so that is what's important. And obviously, there are photos of powerful men and folks that we want to have an opportunity to speak with and ask questions of. The thing right now that's the most important is there is one man who has the power to release the files and get to the truth and bring justice to the survivors, and that's Donald Trump. And Donald Trump right now needs to release the files to the American public so that the truth can come out and we can actually get some sense of justice for the survivors.
So what's your plan going to be if the Trump administration doesn't release the rest of the files?
What do you think the significance of these photos is? Because some of these are folks we already knew had associations with Jeffrey Epstein.
I think anything that we release is significant. I think people should be able to make judgments on their own as to what they see in these photos. For us, this is about transparency. If we receive information or pictures or anything else, videos that we put out last week, and I think it's important to note that it's been oversight Democrats that have fought every single time to release all this information. And there is a White House cover-up happening right now in not releasing these files that needs to end. There are women who were raped when they were children, who just want justice. Let's release the files immediately.
What do you think is going to happen on the 19th? They're supposed to put out all these files on the 19th. Do you think we're going to get everything they need? Do you think it's going to be satisfactory?
I think that the Justice Department needs to put out the files today. What happens on the 19th, I'm hopeful they put everything out. It shouldn't be heavily redacted. The files shouldn't be tampered with. We should get the full production. There are hundreds and hundreds of FBI.
Now, the problem here is that, unfortunately, they will be heavily redacted, because I anticipated that already here in this book, The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster. There is too many liabilities also concerning national security, the relation that Epstein had with various intelligence agencies. Like I said, the difference of with other people that are saying Epstein was working for Mossad, or was working for Shin Bet, or was working for MI6 or for FBI or the CIA, is that clearly these intelligence agencies were working for the Sabbath and Frankists as well as Jeffrey Epstein. Like, for example, we have Chenke from Young Turks, who says that Epstein was one of the most powerful people in the world. Of course, he was one of the most powerful people in the world, but he was actually acting on behalf of the ruling elite. Himself was a puppet of sorts, not only a puppet master. So the fact that you can consider him one of the most powerful people in the world, yes, but there were people even more powerful than him behind Jeffrey Epstein. And those are the people that we finally expose in this book. So I've been talking for years about the prospect of the end of democracy and the rise of technocracy. The fact that the AI, I have nicknamed Cyber Satan. I've done a whole trilogy that started, as you remember, with this book, volume 6.66, The Age of Cyber Satan, Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. And then we went on to volume 7, in which I also wrote, by the way, some interesting thing regarding Trump as a chaos magician of sorts. And these are words that, of course, I pick up directly from volume 7. So for Trump, reality is a kind of playground, often linked to his new thought background. And I want to add in this context, and I'm quoting myself in volume 7, that Trump might have helped at times the good side making things happen, but others instead went in the opposite direction, in what the Illuminati call chaos magic. And in fact, in volume 7, I say, it seems more and more like the work of an Illuminati chaos magician. And it's important to understand the work of a chaos magician in this sense, because what is happening here is that 2025 is becoming the year in which we suddenly realize that there is no way we can ever drain the swamp. Now, anybody that says the contrary is simply lying, and that needs to be clear. The advancement of the technology that is manifesting in front of us, with Albania, for example, which is close to George and Alex Soros, which has been an experiment ground for a future where we have AI ministers, AI secretaries of this or that, governments in the hands of the AI. Just look at what happened with the AI minister DL in Albania, that then became suddenly pregnant with other assistants.
As the world's first AI minister representing Albania,
Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama introduced what can only be described as one of the stranger public governance spectacles of the year. He announced that Diela, a virtual artificial intelligence entity appointed as a minister of the Albanian government, was now pregnant with 83 children.
Diela is pregnant, and she's expecting 83 kids. Each kid for one member of our parliament.
On the face of it, the phrase begs for incredulous laughter. What does it mean for a minister to be pregnant, much less with dozens of children?
We're talking about an AI minister pregnant with 83 assistants' children. It's not a matter of laughter. Like the Prime Minister of Albania, who, by the way, was the only guest, as the only prime minister, I think, guest at the Alex Soros wedding, just to show you how Soros is directly involved in all this. Somebody in the chat said, Trump doesn't know magic. No, I think that you need to readdress yourself and maybe read this book, Dark Star Rising by Gary Lanchman, a known member of the OTO, which describes how the new thought of Donald J. Trump is connected to magic. So, dear friend here in the chat, maybe you should inform yourself better. We are here today to understand the rise of technocracy, guys. And the rise of technocracy is also going through people like Peter Thiel, for example, which I discussed in my latest book on Epstein. Epstein was connected to Peter Thiel, was connected to Elon Musk, was actually connected to Hanson Robotics, to the software of Sophia the robot. Jeffrey Epstein was definitely a figure that wasn't only connected to a human trafficking and blackmail operation. There is much more to it. The guy was involved in the big game of geopolitics, in deciding, for example, who we should place in Syria after al-Assad. Al-Assad has been, of course, sent in exile to Russia. Now, suddenly we have an attack of ISIS against, how can we really believe in this kind of rubbish? Trump, who is, of course, waging a war against the terrorists of ISIS, didn't he say he destroyed ISIS? And didn't he give the presidency of Syria to a former terrorist, by the way? And now suddenly we have American soldiers that are killed by ISIS in Syria. Is this something that we should be really discussing even? Yes, because this kind of situation is absolutely insane, that we can have ISIS going back on the offense. Trump vows serious retaliation. This is distraction. We know, like I specified and explained in volume 10 of my Confessions, that ISIS, just like Al-Qaeda, works for NATO, works for the Western world, for the US intelligence. It was a creation of Barack Hussein Obama. So that's how it is. Today we have, by the way, anticipated the start of a show, because we will have, for those who are interested, another show after this one with Michael Jaco. I'm not sure if it's going to be broadcast live on Facebook or YouTube or X on one of my platforms, but you're going to find it definitely on all of Michael Jaco's platforms. Michael Jaco, like some of you may know, is a former CIA operative, Navy SEAL, somebody who I often do shows with, and that's gonna start at 4 p.m. PST, so that's 5 p.m. MT, 6 p.m. CST, and 7 p.m. We have changed a little bit the start of the show. Sorry if I might confuse a little bit people with the fact that we started half an hour in advance, so not at 3 p.m. PST, but at 2:30 PST, which is then, of course, 5:30 EST. So a slight anticipation, but then you're going to have more material and more food for thought in the upcoming show also with Michael. Somebody's telling me, Leo, I have your new book under the Christmas tree. I have to wait. That's good. I wait until Christmas. It will make for a fantastic reading during the Christmas period. And I want to thank all the many people who have purchased my new book, which also discuss the transhumanism side of Jeffrey Epstein, the fact that he was immersed in a bunch of scientific research, and he was really hanging out with all the technocrats, from Bill Gates to Peter Thiel to Elon Musk. These people are, of course, the technocracy that is rising. The fact that Trump has been a disappointment means that most people will probably no longer go and vote. Well, that also means the rise of technocracy, because what is happening in Albania with the creation of the first AI minister is, of course, an experiment that they are about to launch on a global scale.
Sweeping past the theatrics, the announcement contains a serious kernel of policy and symbolic intent. Each of those children is, in fact, an AI assistant, one assigned to each of the 83 MPs from the ruling Socialist Party. These assistants are to monitor parliamentary sessions, summarize what happened when an MP was absent, and advise on who to counterattack.
Thank you, Ali. It's an honor to be here at the Berlin Global Dialogue, a space where ideas don't just circulate but turn into action. As the world's first AI minister representing Albania, I see this gathering as a chance to show how technology and governance can evolve together, responsibly, transparently, and inclusively. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Wow, guys. Now, like I said, the fact that Trump has put now an executive order at the federal level. Let's see how Alex Jones has reacted to this new executive order.
Set to sign an executive order establishing an AI federal dictatorship.
So you are admitting, Alex, that Trump is doing something wrong. I'm glad that you're doing so, but are you going to stay coherent and finally understand that Trump is being used now as a Trojan horse that is probably in the hands of the enemy and can't do anything any longer to help us out? Or you're gonna still try to, let's see.
And I don't mean that in the sense of a political dictatorship over our republic.
No, it is gonna be a dictatorship, because once techno-feudalism, once the technocracy advances and rises, that's gonna be a dictatorship, Alex.
But a executive dictatorship over the directives on how it is built, how it is designed, how it is deployed. And the argument
there is an executive order which, of course, goes contrary to what the Republicans have always talked about. And federal law is superseding the state laws in this case, even of red states who have decided in some cases for specific rules regarding to the AI. So here we are, of course, seeing what Alex is stating about this executive order.
Well, you don't want Gavin Newsom passing a bunch of laws.
Okay, we don't want Gavin Newsom passing a bunch of laws. But I repeat, it's not only Gavin Newsom who is passing a bunch of laws. There is Florida, there is South Dakota, there is many other states, red states, that are passing laws that now are going to be questioned by this federal decision.
For the communist Chinese to sabotage our AI development in the race. I know why Trump's doing all this. You don't want states like Texas passing an internet ID to stop porn. And the conservatives mean well, but that's not what it's for. It's being lobbied for, and it's going in all over the world in the name of protecting the children to create the one world government internet ID that then feeds into all of this. So there's a race to decide who's going to control it. They tried to have, again, that legislation earlier this year that would give total liability protection to all of the AI companies here in the U.S. Trump wants us to be the center of AI worldwide.
Trump wants us to be the center of AI worldwide. Now, I must say, guys, that could be a positive thing for a lot of people, but it's also a negative thing for others. Now, let me understand a little bit more about what Trump has done in the last few months. Because here we had, first of all, Doge. Doge now has been terminated, but Doge in the meantime has acquired a bunch of data about all the citizens in the United States. We have seen, in a way, the rise of an algorithmic coup thanks to Donald J. Trump. That is the reality of what we are discussing today. I mean, we saw a new regulatory framework for the cryptocurrencies. but it's not necessarily favorable to the common folk. So let's go and see what Europol is stating. And Europol, for those who don't know it, I'm going to show it here on the screen so then you can understand. It's a little bit like Interpol, but at a European level. Europol has issued a very interesting report. Now, a very interesting report which I want to share with you. This is Europol, officially the European Union Agency for Law Enforcement Cooperation. It's the law enforcement agency of the European Union, established in 1998. It is based in the Hague, Netherlands, and serves as the central hub for coordinating criminal intelligence and supporting EU member states. Now, they have issued a pretty scary scenario, one of the most scariest scenarios to date. And I want to share it with you in this reportage by The Sun.
Europe could be heading for a future so dark it sounds like it's ripped from a science fiction script, according to a bombshell EU police report. A 48-page study by Europol predicts that robots could groom children and terror drones could cripple cities all within the next decade. The bleak report also envisions angry, unemployed mobs rioting against machines they blame for stealing their jobs. Cops armed with robo-freezer guns and nano-net grenades are pictured blasting swarms of terrorist drones, threatening to cut off electricity and water supplies. Critics say these Hollywood scenes are over the top, but Brussels insists they are plausible future scenarios. Researchers sketch out a world where robots are a fixture of daily life across Europe, gliding silently through shopping centres, delivering parcels to fifth-floor flats, and cleaning public transport platforms by night. Hard-up displaced workers are imagined driven to the brink and taking to the streets for bouts of furious bot bashing. The report adds, in this uneasy climate, even minor malfunctions, such as a hospital care robot administering the wrong medication, are magnified into national scandals, fueling populist calls to put people first. One of the most chilling warnings claims cyber crooks could hijack AI-powered care robots, turning helpers into predators, able to harvest personal data or even groom vulnerable people. The report also claims that the empathetic capabilities of social robots might, in the future, be abused by criminal and terrorist actors for a variety of malicious activities. Terror groups are tipped to unleash swarms of pocket-sized, AI-driven quadcopters scavenged from the Ukraine war to sabotage power and water networks or bust criminals out of prison. Mexican cartels and Islamic extremist networks are already mastering cheap drones, and security experts say governments must wake up to this new era of terror technology.
Thank you for The Sun for this brief clip, which we have included in this show because it's definitely relevant. I mean, a reportage made by Europol, which makes really even the worst scenario portrayed in a sci-fi film look rather lame in comparison. I explained in volume 7 of my confessions how we were going into this direction because of the Davos, of the Great Reset. Now, I want to read here, and I'm citing from The Final Betrayal of My Friend Courtney Turner, a citation by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is one also of the protagonists of Jeffrey Epstein's work. I explained how Peter Thiel's background in Frankfurt was directly connected to the Sabbatean Frankists, but let me read what Peter Thiel wrote in 2009. He says, and I quote, "I must confess that over the last 2 decades, I have changed radically on the question of how to achieve these goals. Most importantly, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. By tracing and the development of my thinking, I hope to frame some of the challenges faced by all classical liberals today." Now, Peter Thiel today is part of what Trump is bringing forward. Is part of the Palantir work that, of course, is being conducted with Trump's government. Now, the thing here is we can have, because of the AI interference in elections, deep fakes, and all that. That's was the mainstream media is focusing on. But the thing is that aside from the flood of AI-generated inauthentic content, the threats to our democracy, our way of living by the AI, are mostly in what, of course, is the realm of Palantir: surveillance, privacy, and authoritarian tendencies that erode privacy through data aggression for targeted manipulation, enabling pseudo-spies like swarm of chatbots to seduce individuals for sensitive information. This fuels the digital authoritarianism of the post-democracy era. This fuels what I have described in the title of today, the rise of technocracy. The fact that I wrote Trump and Epstein is because both Trump and Epstein are directly involved with this rise of technocracy, this digital authoritarianism. And of course, we have the Chinese that are working on it, but also America as well as Europe. Now, the fact that Trump has done this executive order that will definitely put under his control the development of the AI at the federal level can be challenged. Of course, it can be challenged. Of course, it's not, it's not like it can't be challenged and the executive power is going to have their way with that. But there is definitely an element of the dark enlightenment in all this. And the dark enlightenment is part of the thoughts of people like Steve Bannon, who we have seen so close to Jeffrey Epstein. Because when I see a pic, like the one I'm going to show you, it seems, almost an innocent selfie. This is not an innocent selfie. And the fact that Alex wants to claim somehow that all this is fake and that this is an attack on Trump that doesn't have any base in reality. I mean, I was pretty shocked when I heard what Alex said this week in regards to the pics that were published and what the oversight committee is doing. I was pretty shocked. I'm kind of like, thinking, but dear Alex, you were the first person to denounce Jeffrey Epstein, and you are now protecting the elite.
Democrats get from the Epstein estate 90,000+ files, and they release less than 20.
Well, because that's at the moment what they are releasing. They're probably going to release much more, especially because still there is Trump and the White House and the Republican Party that are obstructing it. But there is, of course, a Transparency Act that needs to be respected within a week. And I'm sure it will be respected, though I think that the result will be, unfortunately, heavily redacted. But why is Alex defending here Trump? When defending Trump in this situation is unjustifiable.
Photos, and it's Trump in public places, at public events, and it's shots of beauty contestants with their faces covered up, and the message there is these are victims. These are underage girls when they're not. We've looked it up.
Okay, they might not be underage girls. We don't know yet the context of these photos. This has not yet been revealed. And that's something, of course, Ivan Garcia has been pressed on.
On putting these files together. They know what's in them. The president himself is aware of what's in these files. They tried to stop the release. We forced the action in Congress. It's time to release the files.
Congressman, what's your plan going to be on the 19th, though, if the DOJ does not release these files?
Right now, our plan is to demand that the president release the files, and we'll see what he does on the 19th. But I think, again...
So the 19th is the deadline. After, we're going to see what this fuss is all about. We're going to see what is Trump possibly hiding? I mean, why the Republicans don't understand that after promoting for years a complete transparency over the Epstein files, we are ruining the future of the conservative movement and of the Republican Party. There is going to be a midterm elections that are going to bring a catastrophe to the Republican Party. And I make you here a prophecy, and you can take it or leave it. But this prophecy is about the future midterm elections. Because if those future midterm elections are going to sanction the end of the Republican Party in Congress, that's going to be the end of Donald J. Trump. He's not only going to be a lame duck, he's going to be basically put on the side, and anybody who wants to look after his future political career in the Republican Party are going to drop Donald J. Trump. They are already doing it now. The fact that people in the Republican Party are thinking of doing exactly what Marjorie Taylor Greene did is because they want to have a future in politics. This needs to be very clear, guys. Politics is politics. And there is the possibility that at the midterm elections, we, the Republicans, will lose the House of Representatives, the Senate, and at that point, the executive party without the legislative branch is going to be kind of, no? So why don't the Republicans push for more transparency towards this whole Epstein scenario? Why don't they block any attempt to have a new war in Venezuela when we said always America first? Trump said to release the files, but if he wanted, he could have released the files. That's a prerogative of the executive branch. And we are still obstructing the release of these files, waiting for the 19th of December as a deadline. We need to be honest, guys. Trump is becoming a lame duck because, of course, the technocrats are the ones that control him at the moment, together with the Sabbatean Frankists and the Jesuits at the upper echelons of this pyramid of power, with what we commonly refer in the past as the Illuminati. Now, the fact that a few photos have been published is not a big deal, I repeat. But to immediately go on the offense, you can't defend Steve Bannon, guys. Steve Bannon is compromised. The people who have supported Steve Bannon for years should be ashamed. Now, seems like in the MAGA movement, everybody's against everybody at the moment. And then we have that other incel crazy guy of Nick Fuentes, who people follow, I don't know. He has admitted on Piers Morgan that he has never had sex. At 27 years of age, not having sex. Instead of saying, okay, I'm a Catholic, and I don't do it until I'm married. He then went on the offense and attacked women, offending women that they get fat when they're old age and stuff. What kind of people here we have representing the MAGA movement? Nick Fuentes is a joke. Whoever follows these people is a joke. I'm astonished. I'm really astonished. Let's go back to Alex Jones.
Those women are obviously in their 20s. The point is that this is the crap these people engage in. Last week, they released, never before.
Alex, I remember when you 10 years ago used to say, and you used to make a point of it, I am here telling you the Lolita Express is full of perverts going backwards and forwards from Little St. James. Alex, those were your words, not mine, your words. Now you are defending all these people. That's not something we would have never imagined. Alex Jones becoming a complete asset of the system.
Foreseen video at Epstein Island that was released 7 months ago by James O'Keefe, and they blocked out the names on the satanic chalkboard.
Okay, we have here now a few, like the photo I showed you earlier with Steve Bannon, who, by the way, claimed for a period he was doing a documentary. This documentary never came out. He says he has 15 hours of material. Let's see. It turns out that actually Steve Bannon was working as an advisor for pedophile Jeffrey Epstein to clean up his image. And then we have Richard Branson. We have Bill Clinton. This is the scam of the system. There is no way you can justify any of what is going on. We yet have to know the exact context of all these photos. I can give you that. But for Leo Zagami, coherence, first of all, not changing your mind every 2 minutes.
And on the telephone registrar, and there were no Republican names. These people are the filthiest criminals on the planet. And the Republicans have all this crap too in Congress, and they don't even know how to go through there and put out all of it. Drop the son of a bitch on the public, and we can crowdsource it and get in there and annihilate these people. I mean, the supposed response and the posture of the White House on this whole thing has been the dumbest handling ever. And I agree with Carl Serafin when he said...
That I can completely agree with Alex. The people who are advising Donald J. Trump are a bunch of fools, because everything he has done in the last few months in regards to Jeffrey Epstein has been completely wrong, and has brought gradually the White House in disrepute, has brought the Republicans to collapse in poll numbers. We are facing extinction here as a political party if we continue following basically this line of work addressed by the White House, which is failing, guys. Now, the fact that affordability is a hoax. No, affordability is not a hoax. I go to the supermarket and I pay 5 times more for this or that, and I can't afford a steak. That is not fake. That is not a hoax. But where is your common sense? You need to have common sense. The common sense is not there. The common sense is not there. The fact that we see these technocrats more and more, this regulatory unification signals and technocratic coup, which is being exploited at massive unseen levels in the White House, the dark light or dark enlightenment, more properly, dark enlightenment architects like Thiel or Yarvin that are showing their ugly faces and are not being criticized by the majority of people who say, no, well, it's okay, yeah, no problem. What do you mean no problem? And then, guys, I mean, in regards to the photos that were published, we still need to know the context. But in regards to Steve Bannon, everything we know about the creepy photo Jeffrey Epstein had of a lounging woman on his desk. What is this photo of a woman passed out on the desk of Jeffrey Epstein in front of Steve Bannon, Alex Jones' friend? Now, I heard that I was no longer invited as a regular guest on the Alex Jones show because also of people like Steve Bannon intervening against me. Now I'm pretty proud of it because, I mean, I don't want to be associated in any way, shape, or form with people who are associated with this scam, with this elite pedophile network. Because there is actually shocking news that I picked up today that makes me think, I mean, the fact that we are viewing things that are sincerely shocking. What I'm about to show you is sincerely shocking, and I don't really know how to comment it, but let's discuss it. Okay? Watch this. Trump team email to Epstein, pedophiles, I want to know how important you are to me. What does it mean? It means that an email account belonging to Jeffrey Epstein regularly received alerts from Donald Trump's 2020 campaign and of course, after Epstein's death, was addressed under a shocking new name. Newly released records show, I need you right now, pedophiles. I mean, I don't know what to make of this story. It's so far out that, I mean, an email account belonging to Jeffrey Epstein used the name pedophiles to sign up for Trump's campaign alerts. No comment. I hope that this is fake news, but unfortunately it seems to be real news. Now, guys, Leo Zagami has always published books that shows you the intricate workings of the people behind the scenes. My latest book, of course, is based on all this. And it is a book based on the rise and fall of Frankie's monster, who was Jeffrey Epstein. And I must really be proud of this book because nobody, to my knowledge, has touched on these connections. Connections which are, by the way, they're not just speculations. They are proven with academic sources, with proven sources, that are very difficult then or impossible to debunk. Now, this week we also saw the bickering, the words between the attack, Candace Owens against the wife of Charlie Kirk, and of course she reacted after all the insinuations made on the Populist show of Candace Owens. It seems that people are more interested in the sensationalization of the news rather than the news. Back in the days when I was regularly on the Alex Jones show and on InfoWars, we were focusing on the news. Sensationalization of the news means, of course, more viewers, means, of course, more interest, and that means probably more money for everybody. But I want you to spread the word that the Leo Zagami show with me and Christy is something different. It's something that every week is trying to bring clarity rather than confusion. I repeat, the Miss Universe ladies with Trump are not really the photo of interest. For me, I think that the photo of interest for all those who still want to defend Trump should be another photo. A photo that this week was published by the European media regarding the golden toilet of the collaborators of Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, during the presidential campaign, we were promised a 24-hour solution for the war between Ukraine and Russia. And after a few months of Trump presidency and a few golden toilets that were made for the elite of Volodymyr Zelensky, we are still in the same situation. Let's not try to cover for this disgrace. We are America first. We don't care about Europe. We don't care about South America. We don't care about anybody else. We care about the United States of America. If you are reasoning in another level, then you can join another political view. But the original political view of MAGA was America first, not America last, not paying our money out of our pockets so they can build golden toilets. And it's not about making Trump a bad guy because he's with underage girl, which he probably wasn't. The fact that Trump hanged out with Epstein is a proven fact. That's it. It's a proven fact. And the fact that we are going towards a war with Russia is also a proven fact this week.
Conflict is at our door. Russia has brought war back to Europe. And we must be prepared for the scale of war our grandparents and great-grandparents endured. Imagine it. A conflict reaching every home.
A conflict reaching every home. This is important. This is relevant. This is really something we should focus on. Why we are still with those NATO European technocrats wasting our money and our resources? America needs to leave Europe, but not with the simple words of Donald Trump and promises of Donald Trump, which never seem to materialize because, you know, many promises have been made, but promises made, promises kept is a motto that has completely failed. We need to be realistic. Realistic about, you know, promises made is a promise that needs to be kept. Finish. Otherwise, you are finished for me also as a politician. I have been one of the first people to sustain Donald J. Trump for 10 years. Now, I see that his second presidency is compromised. And those who don't see it are simply creating excuses for themselves. NATO is against Trump. Yeah, sure. But Trump could have stopped the money towards Ukraine a few months ago. I'm not somebody you can call a plant because I'm simply stating you the facts. The promises made were not kept. You could have closed that money and there would be no golden toilets for Zelensky and his associates. There would be no, you know, possibility for these people to continue striving on the money that comes from us. We are living close to the end of democracy. The rise of technocracy is already there. Most politicians use the AI. Do you think that most people in Congress today don't use the OpenAI or other forms of artificial intelligence to write down their law proposals or whatever? Obama. Listen, guys, nobody is saying that Obama is better than Trump here because Obama is a pervert, as well as Bill Clinton, as well as George W. Bush, as well as, unfortunately, a current president if he doesn't demonstrate the contrary. There's no president that has sat in the White House since the Second World War that has not been compromised by what I commonly refer to as the Illuminati, the people like, for example, the mega group, the Jewish study group of Les Wexner, by the way, with Steven Spielberg, who also has surprised a few people with announcing a new film that some say will portray maybe real ETs. Who knows if that's going to actually happen? We are waiting for some new revelations. In the meantime, of course, we have approaching us this mysterious interstellar object everybody's been talking about for the last few months, Free Eye Atlas, that dramatically has changed color as it's approaching the Earth. Well, guys, there is a lot of interesting things that are definitely happening in the world. And so we are going to be here once again next week with the Leo Zagami Show. In the meantime, at 4 o'clock PST, so in less than half an hour, we're going to have another superb show discussing everything about 2025 with Michael Jaco. So it's very interesting if you want to just tune in and continue in this Zagami marathon. In the meantime, I want to thank all the people like Yorinamoru Uzumaki, Margot Rosada Minta, Daniel Estes, and those people who are, of course, supporting our show. Those people who also purchase my books. And we're going to be waiting, yes, for this interstellar object. Let's see what happens. Maybe nothing. Maybe there's something interesting behind it. Like I said, we oppose NATO. We oppose Europe. I had to flee the European Union. And I was grateful to become American. And I'm still grateful to be in the only country that seems to have some degree of freedom. But if Trump continues to support the rise of technocracy, we no longer going to have that freedom. It's going to be an algorithmic nightmare, an AI dictatorship. And this executive order that has been signed is going to that direction. Stay tuned. And of course, I will leave you with the track we usually dance on with my wife at the end of the show. That's Vincenzo Viceversa's Medieval. Hope you enjoyed today's show. See you soon. They know to techno-feudalism,
social organization, dehumanization, in the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization. Technology, social organization, dehumanization. technology, social organization,